And greetings, everybody. I almost forgot to unmute my mic. I'm in a little better mood. I got a computer that looks like it's actually working, and I hope the audio is good and the video is at least reasonable. I'm on a new computer. I had to rebuild it today. Someone taught me how to do that. I'm not that good that I'm not the sort that can build it without a massive amount of help. In the debate today, I had a lot of my books. And oh my goodness, look who is here. Bread of Life herself.
Hi, guys. Sal, you did a great job.
Thank you. Thank you. If people are wondering why the debate was mostly between T-Jump and perspective philosophy, I wanted to defer to both of them because really me and JF were more kind of the supporting cast. The debate initially was between perspective philosophy and T-Jump, and I wasn't going to, I told perspective philosophy out of respect for the fact that he organized the debate, he would have priority. So in case people are wondering, but you could tell I wanted to talk a lot. And when I had my moments, I said I had to make the most of them. And so, I think I availed myself well. And people generally thought that was a great debate for both sides. We represented ourselves well. So I appreciated hearing that. They were saying we were dead wrong or whatever, but the impression was it was a good debate. So anyway, great to see you. And do you have any thoughts, Rebecca? I'm just kind of chilling out here. That's what after shows are for.
Yeah, well, okay. So let's see where to start. It was really kind of frustrating that perspective philosophy couldn't quite get anywhere with T-Jump and the other guy for as far as getting him to understand this, what he's saying. You've got to have this foundational reason to, I'm butchering it because I'm not good at philosophy. So I mean, I don't understand everything he was saying, but I was getting the point that unless you have a basis for thinking that there's a problem with deductive reasoning if you don't have something beyond. Am I getting this? What did you understand from this?
I got to tell you, I'm not a philosopher. There were a few parts of it, and it was interesting that, perspective philosophy. He said I can use his first name, Lewis. Took about 9 minutes for his opening. I did 4, and I was surprised how much T-Jump and JF wanted to go after me. I'm like, okay, so I think that it was so hard to uncoil what Lewis said that no one just wanted to engage it. And I was kind of glad they went after me because they could understand what my claim was, at least. And of course, yeah, I thought it was pretty clear. I said, okay, so if you were lost about what JF said, I mean, perspective philosophy, I was a little bit too. I got a few things and I just couldn't develop the thoughts. If we could have a few moments, let's give honor and glory to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Would you care to offer a prayer for us? And I have a heavy heart with stuff going on at church and everything else going on. And if you could pray for the people in the side chat too. Let's do this right.
Let me see who's here. Let me see. Okay, so I'll kind of look at the side chat while I'm praying so I can, hold on, where am I? Okay, here we go. Yeah. And if anybody has
and also the people at Modern Day Debate that saw the debate. Hopefully there's someone who will be blessed.
Lord, thank you so much for every opportunity that we have in this life to glorify you, to give just you thanks for the life that we have. Lord, we know that not all are grateful for their lives, and we pray that you would give them gratefulness and give them revelation that they may worship you. So we pray for all who were watching modern day debate, that their eyes may be opened, that they may see your glory. We pray for those two atheist debaters, T Jump and JR. We thank you for them, Lord, and we just ask you to just let them see your glory, let them experience you, and let them turn to you and be saved. Lord, I thank you for the viewers here. I thank you for Alan, and I just pray that you would show Alan your care and your concern. Alan's writing, "Starving kids are not grateful." Lord, I just pray that you would open Alan's eyes to see your goodness in the face of all the evils that are experienced in this world. And there are many. There are many that obscure your goodness. And so I pray that in spite of those things, that Alan would see your beauty and your love. Lord, I pray for Bubblegum, and I thank you for him or her. And I just bless and ask you to fill him or her with your spirit. And for Patrick, the same thing. Let Patrick experience your presence, your power, and your love today. For Dustin Buck, that you would bless him, bless his family, bless his life. Help him, Lord. Fill him with your spirit. And who else is here? Let's see. Mark O'Connell. Thank you for him, Lord. Bless him. Fill him with your spirit. Use him for your glory. Show him your goodness. And Pinky Ring. Thank you, Lord, for Pinky Ring. We pray that whatever you know our needs, and I don't know, but I just pray that all of his or her needs would be met through the glorious riches that are for him in Christ Jesus. Amen. So,
Amen. Amen. And so you said, Alan, I think it's alien, robot, ghost.
I'm
I'm sorry.
Alien. I'm sorry, alien robot ghost.
Yes, we're sorry.
My eyes
Okay, so
aren't that good. Okay.
Okay, so there was some requests, and I, since you all were so kind to come to my after show, it's not a well-attended one, and that's typical. Probably scared people off. I may have made one mistake when I talked about the integral to e to the minus x. It should have been e to the minus x squared, but oh well. Bubblegum Gun
Probably
asked,
nobody there will know. Okay.
I need you to compare Pseudomonas aeruginosa genome, the biggest single-cell eukaryotic. Actually, I think aeruginosa is a prokaryote, versus the human genome prokaryotic. The human genome's eukaryotic. See how much the genome they share. The argument alone can end evolution. I think first off, I think there is a bigger prokaryotic cell now, and I covered it on my channel. It's a giant one. It's a bacterium that's 2 meters. But still, going from any small bacteria to something as large as a human being is a challenge. And let's see. And Alien Robot says, this is an interesting comment. I'm presuming you meant it was a bloodbath for my opponents. I would hope that's what you mean.
I don't think that's what alien robot means.
Okay, so
I
alien
have
robot
some other
says
thoughts on it. Okay, go ahead.
All right. He said, I think evolution is built into the genome. That is a thought of some people. I don't think there's enough. I don't see enough evidence of it. There's just not enough It wouldn't be in the genome if it's stored because there's limited amounts of information. But thank you for your thoughts. I'm sorry to have to disagree. But anyway, also, if the Earth is young, which I happen to believe it is, that would falsify evolution. So I don't know why I can't hide this comment. There it goes. So go ahead.
Well, actually, I wanted to know, did Lewis know that he was going to be debating with a young Earth creationist? Because he has a British accent, so I'm assuming he like believes in evolution, because every British person I know believes in evolution. I think they do a much more rigorous job indoctrinating the kids.
This is an interesting argument. It's, I mean, you may be right. It's just one I've never used. So thank you for offering that. So he says, because since they split early in evolution, according to the theory, they cannot arrive at the same gene sequences independently through random mutation. It's literally impossible. I think it's a decent argument. And I'm sorry, I'm not familiar enough with it. I think I've heard other people suggest that, and it could be a very powerful argument. So I think I told Lewis I'm a creationist. I didn't tell him I was a young Earth creationist. So he did know I was a creationist. And we said, okay, Lewis, we obviously had different starting points and we disagree. But I said, you know what? We can actually complement it, because if you have a different view than I do and we still arrive at the same conclusion, that makes the conclusion stronger. Don't you think so? And he said, oh, yeah. Yeah. He said, that'll actually work, because even though we disagree on some things, we arrive at the same conclusion that actually makes it stronger. And so what little I could understand of his philosophy, there were actually points of agreement. We actually talked for an hour and a half yesterday. And I was just pointing out, he kept going about these transcendental forms. And I'll give you an example of a transcendental form, the eye, or a lens. A lens is a transcendental form. A lens can be made of glass. It can be made of a variety of kinds of glasses. It can be made even by cells, and yet it has the same form. And the reason we're able to do science is because we assume these forms actually exist, and you can't deduce these forms from pure laws of physics. They're just like there. And I got to tell you something, Lewis, and I think this is public knowledge. He was a Catholic Christian and then became an agnostic, and he recently came back to the Catholic faith. Now, I'm a Protestant, and so I would have issues with that, but I praise God for him talking about Christ. When we talked, he talked about Jesus. And, even though I think his particular denomination is flawed, if he holds on to Jesus, he's got what he really needs.
Wait, I'm confused. Maybe I missed that. He became Protestant, or he
returned to the Catholic faith.
Oh, okay.
Being an agnostic and returned to the Catholic faith, but he was talking about Jesus Christ. And I was just thrilled about that, because if you go to his channel, you'd think he's still an agnostic, because he has a lot of other stuff that doesn't deal with Catholicism. He has tons of stuff on veganism and philosophy, but people have said he's become a Christian. And I was just asking him, and he said, oh yeah, just like in the last year, he returned to the Christian faith because of the things that he articulated from philosophy.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's why, even though I didn't understand him completely, I feel like, and I think he was frustrated because, he wasn't actually getting to fully develop the ideas he wanted to talk about, because they weren't understanding the basic ideas. They were fighting him on every, point that he was making. So I feel like he was extremely frustrated, and honestly, everyone else was kind of like the atheist guys were just, they couldn't hang with his philosophy. That's just, I mean, I don't think this was really honestly a great debate, because there were people speaking different languages. And that's what happened, because here you were speaking physics language but you're speaking to non-physicists, right?
Oh yeah.
And
They could
so,
not
and
get it.
then, so you were speaking a language that they don't speak. And, the perspective philosophy guy, he was speaking a language they don't speak. So
Right.
neither one of you were able to get the messages across in a way that, but I'm not, maybe they wouldn't have,
Well,
maybe they would have fought just as hard if, of course, it's a debate. So they've got to fight with what they've got. But that's why I don't love debates.
well, debates are for marketing and at least gets my name out. And I really did this as a favor for James because he's a Christian brother and I wanted to help him. And yeah, come on, guys, please play nice. But T-Jump and JF, they're so determined to discredit me, they kept doing stuff with boundary conditions and the laws of physics. I'm just like, guys, you're so out of your depth, and you're going to jump the gun, and you're going to get trounced by just the fact that you're willing to say stuff that if they're physics students, they're mathematicians, they would know that I was right. Because, and you saw me, it was maybe people were laughing, they could see me kind of running back and forth in my house. I was going to pick up books. And I said, T-Jump, a boundary condition is different than the equation. A boundary condition is different than the equation. And then I had this book on differential equations. And I said, just Google it and you'll see you have boundary conditions and differential equations. They're separate. The equation is different from the boundary conditions. And since the laws of physics are second order differential equations in general, you have boundary conditions that are not the same as the equations of physics. And it's like, T-Jump, I'm sorry, you're wrong. We'll just have to agree to disagree. But I could have been more rude and say, dude, you're clueless. And I didn't want to do that because he was very polite to me. He actually edited one of my slides. He said, that's a mistake. And I said, oh, thank you. Just before the debate, because I would have embarrassed myself. And, he was civil to me. Oh, go ahead, Rebecca.
Oh, no, sorry. My son was talking to me. Sorry about that.
And I just wanted to get, I'm just, I could have been a total jerk. And I said, no, that would be unbecoming. I might be that way to some other guy. But I was like, guys, I could have said, you have no clue what you're talking about. I could get you my physics books and you'll see the distinction. I even Googled it and teach up. I'm just like, did you not read what I just provided? And I said, just the first thing, you could see that a boundary condition is different from the laws of physics. How is that relevant? I was saying we have the laws of physics. Okay, so that means our cells, our bodies, as far as we know, we can assume reasonably that they operate according to the laws of physics, just like a car operates to the laws of physics. Mm-hmm. But the origin of a car is not explained by the laws of physics, neither is the origin of life.
Yeah, I understood that point perfectly, and it was a very good point, and I don't think they responded to it.
And then I said, okay, what makes a car is the boundary conditions, not the laws of physics. There's a difference between when you say the field, the discipline of physics and the laws of physics. The discipline of physics studies the laws of physics, but it also studies boundary conditions. And I'm like, I've taken these classes, guys. You better know the difference. And I just wanted to just whack them. And I'm just like, okay, that's what I call Brandolini's law. They're just going to keep repeating themselves. And no matter how much stuff I throw, and I was flashing these books and just trying to get through to them, kind of quietly, politely tell them, you guys are clueless, but they're so determined to discredit anything I said. I could even quote textbook stuff and they'd have problems with it. I even quoted Virchow's principle on cellular biology that defines cellular life as, life that proceeds from a pre-existing cell, and they would have nothing about it. So, LPP has this. That debate was hilarious. By the way, I've read JFG's book. It's hilarious. He doesn't even remotely address abiogenesis, but claims it solved abiogenesis. Well, thank you, because I didn't read it, but I gave him a testable prediction that Changed Hands book is going to falsify it. And I kept flashing these books. So,
wow, I like Gorgeous Roddy Karome's comment here. Can you put this up? He says, I'm disappointed that the other side wasn't more relaxed. I wanted to hear more of the science perspectives from you, Sal. That's cool.
oh, well, thank you. Thank you. Well, again, the terms of the debate were actually between perspective philosophy and T-jump. Perspective philosophy had an axe to grind against T-jump, and I said, okay, given you're the one that organized this, and I'm just sort of piggybacking, I'll defer to you. But then I had my cell phone here, and I was just like clocking how long the two of them would go after it, and it was like 25 minutes. I said, gentlemen, I haven't talked for 25 minutes. Could I get a word in? I could barely get in 3 minutes before I got jumped on. But I said, thank you for, they treated me respectfully in that sense, because when I said I want to get a word in, they just all stopped. But once I started to say something that upset JF, boy, he tore into me. So
JF.
that's one reason
I was calling him JR. Yeah, JF.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Gorgeous Roddy Chrome, if you want to hear me talk more science, I can. And I could have also torn into JF and said, dude, I'm sorry you're quoting evolutionary talking points. You don't even understand your own field in terms of population genetics. Because he was saying, oh, the genome could be non-junk or junk. It doesn't matter to evolution. And I wanted to tell him, I said, dude, I'm afraid not. Not if you listen to the population geneticist. And there's a reason that Dan Graur said, if ENCODE is right, evolution is wrong. So you see, that's the problem. Even evolutionary biologists can't agree amongst themselves. And I actually didn't know he was an evolutionary biologist before the debate, because I had so much going on in my life. I didn't have a chance to do much preparation. I said, I'm just going to do kind of ad lib. When I found that out, I was like, oh my goodness, he pretty much saw me as the enemy. And then I realized why he kept going after me, because I was telling him that his field's sinking. That really got under his skin.
Well, yeah. Go ahead, read the comment.
Oh no, okay. You can read it, Rebecca.
If you think about it, atheists and their ilk must have the same sort of idea in which to supplant God or remove the need for God. Modern ideas of evolution fit that bill for them, I guess.
Okay, JF got red. So,
what does this mean? He took. Sorry, go ahead.
Go on.
What?
I don't know. What
right before that comment, Bubblegum Gun said he took money from a pedo. I wonder why that pedo who funded him is interested in funding an evolutionist proponent. I don't know what he's talking about. Do you?
Yeah, no. So Gorgeous Roddy Chrome said he wanted to hear me more. And
cool.
Okay, I'll give you this stuff that they just flew over their heads. So the laws of physics make possible if you had 500 fair coins and you threw them like on the floor, you had them in a jar, you shook it, and you threw them on the floor. It's possible that they could be all heads. Possible in principle, but it's improbable. It's improbable. We would say it's virtually impossible, kind of like the Jim Carrey thing, like, Mary, do you think a girl like me and a guy like you do you think we have a chance? Do you remember how that goes, Rebecca?
No. There's
no
not
as in like no as in like 1 in 100 or
no, more like 1 in a million.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah. Okay. So we'll have to rehearse that one. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we need to make a video on that one. Yeah.
And so there's a chance it could be all heads, but virtually it's impossible. It's practically impossible. And that's what I was trying to get to their heads. I said physics would actually dictate that the most likely outcome is it's not going to be all heads. It's going to be some proportion of approximately 50% heads, 50% tails. We could do that with the binomial distribution. So the laws of physics would make it possible, but simultaneously improbable. And therefore, it would need a miracle to make it all heads. And I don't think they could get that through their mind. I said, you would need an improbable set of boundary conditions, all sorts of things happening in just the right way to make it all heads. And I said, the same problem applies to life. Physics makes it possible, but simultaneously improbable. And life is at that edge of improbability, extreme edge. We call it the tails of the distribution. It is a miracle, statistically speaking. And they couldn't, I would say as a matter of principle, it has to be a miracle given its complexity. And I was talking about boundary and conditions. It just flew over their heads. And, it's like, okay, supply the boundary conditions to the differential equations of physics. You see what you can come up with. You see how probable those boundary conditions are. And T-Jump was reading it. I said, you just Google it. And he said, the boundary conditions are random. I said, yeah, random events. You extrapolate that, you're not going to get life. The most probable equilibrium state is non-life. That's why
now, I
things don't become spontaneously living. Go on.
I don't remember you mentioning the coin example in the debate, but I did have to walk away for a few minutes, so it's possible. Did you use that or no?
Yes, in my 3 minutes that I had a chance to say something, and before I had a chance to explain and try, and they were just jumping all over me, and I knew that they would. They're polite enough to say, they were polite enough to give me some words in, because I said, you guys been talking for 20 minutes. Could I get a word in? And I said, I'll just be about 4 minutes. I didn't even get 2 minutes before they jumped all over me when I said boundary conditions, because they were so eager, especially T-Jump, to contest. He said, no, you don't understand. I just want to say, T-Jump, I'm sorry. I've taken these classes. I know the difference. I had to know the difference. Every student who took the class and passed had to know the difference, because there is a difference. I'm just sorry. And he just wouldn't get it. And just like, okay, I can show you the textbook and you're just going to be in denial. So Gorgeous Roddy Crumb said he caught that point in the debate. That was very enlightening. So this is where I just, if I had to just go to non-scientists, I like the coin analogy, because even a 6-year-old kind of gets it. He kind of gets it intuitively. And one time some parents invited me to teach creationism to their 6-year-old. I'm just like, God, I have no idea how I'm going to do this, because I talk to PhDs. And I said, okay, what can I do? And so I brought these coins with me. They're 20 pennies. And I said, Eli, go out to the other room. And I poured the pennies on the table. And then I said, Eli, go to the other room. And I said, I'll call you back in just a little bit. I moved all the coins to heads. Then I said, come on back. He looked at the table. He said, you touched it. You touched it. And he was laughing. I said, even a 6-year-old could see an intelligent agent had to do that. He knew he didn't have to know the binomial distribution or the laws of large numbers, expectation values, tails, et cetera, et cetera. He knew it intuitively. And I got a funny anecdote. There's a evolutionary biologist by the name of Nick Matsky. And there's the famous Kitzmiller versus Dover trial on intelligent design. And Matsky was the evolutionary biologist arguing against intelligent design and supplying the lawyers with materials. So he was nationally renowned that year. And I asked the owner of the blog to ask Nick, okay, say, Nick, if you saw a table and it was full of fair coins, but all the fair coins were heads. Would you think chance was responsible? He couldn't answer. He didn't want to. And I said, that's just such a, we're not talking origin of life. Do you think Sal's up to something, and that's a trap? And it's like, well, yeah, because if you can admit that, then you can admit that life is improbable. It's the very same principle, and he knew where I was going to go with that. We could find numerous examples in Stairway to Life just on chemicals, like the amino acids, the homochirality, the homo-consistent linkage, all violations of the law of large numbers, violations of the binomial distribution. And it's the same thing with the coins. And he couldn't answer it. And someone said, I said, yeah, he was so dumb he couldn't answer. He said, no, he wasn't dumb. He had a lot to lose by telling the truth. The kid, the little 6-year-old didn't. And that's why the little 6-year-old could tell the truth. And so you see, so this little discussion here about the coins, binomial distribution, etc. I said, that's Brandolini's law there, that they're going to just jump all over that. They're going to keep interrupting me and I'll hardly get a word in, but I got a word in, said, go to my channel if you want to hear it. And so now this is my platform. And I want to thank anyone who's visited for Modern Day Debate and come to this. Thank you.
Does Gorgeous Roddy Chrome usually come to your channel? And no, Alien Ghost?
No, I don't see you guys. So anyone who saw the debate, just let me know. I'd be curious to see who actually saw it. And if you didn't, I take no offense. Sometimes the after show, I actually get to one reason I don't take offense is I get to finally talk without getting interrupted and jumped on and misrepresented and disagreed with, kind of like an uninformed statement when T-Jump said, no, they're not they're the same thing. I'm just like, no, T-Jump, you just don't get it. I could quote you so many books and I have stacks of them here.
Well, now, once you asked that, I don't remember who you said it was, but the person that you asked about the coins, not the kid, the other one.
Nick Matsky.
Now, once you asked him and he didn't want to answer that, or he said that, like, at that point, did you feel like you could continue talking with him about it? Like, did you feel like it was worthwhile?
But in a kind of cruel way. It was so bad. It was so bad that we started to feel sorry for him because I kept hammering him and we all kept embarrassing him because he knew he couldn't tell the truth. And we got him and we made him pay for it. And I'm going to give you let me see. I'm going to give you all the link in the side chat. So if you see me turning here, I have another computer just for this purpose. And, here it is. Okay, so first I'm going to put it in the side chat if you guys will indulge me. Oh boy. I think go ahead and talk a little bit, Rebecca, and fill some time
okay. out. Yeah. Well, Gorgeous Roddy Crumb said this is his first time here and he's subscribed to you today. So I'm happy about that. He's been a regular on my channel for a while. And so yeah, he's a good person to have around. And so yeah, I'm just wondering, because that's, I feel like I have the experience that you had when you presented the coin thing and the probabilities of the coin, flipping and stuff like that. Like, to me, like the evidence against abiogenesis is so strong, and it doesn't really, you don't really have to, I don't think you have to be an expert on it to realize it. Just like the kid didn't have to be an expert. He, like you said, he didn't have to know the law, law of large numbers. He didn't have to know anything. He just intuitively knew that it wasn't probable for that to have happened without you messing with it. And so in the same way, I'm not an expert on abiogenesis, and we could probably find some people to just run circles around me just with spewing a bunch of scientific words, but it's not going to change my ability to recognize the problems facing it, the probabilities. And I don't even have to have the exact numbers or anything like that. I just don't find it probable. And when I hear the explanations, the reactions, and everything like that, to me, it sounds like the guy who couldn't answer the question about the coins. So, like their response to that was, well, just because we haven't figured out abiogenesis yet doesn't mean that we won't figure out how it happened. And it's like, okay, but then like our little acting out. Okay, so there's a chance. Like, there's still a chance. Like, what are we holding on to here? Like, you're holding on to like a 0.00000001 chance. It's like, zero's going crazy. That this could ever occur by the processes, are the known processes that we observe.
And that's exactly right. And let me just try to show what they're trying to solve. Okay, the laws of physics will tell you that if you take 500 coins and you just and they're fair coins, you shake them up in a bottle and they're nicely randomized, you pour them out on the table, they're generally going to be approximately 50% heads, 50% tails. Those familiar with the binomial distribution will know how likely that is, and we don't have to go there. But if you don't like 500 coins, go to 1 million coins. How about 1 billion? Because our genomes are 3.3 gigabases, all right? So, I mean, if you want to just talk big numbers, what is the natural tendency is it's going to randomize 50% heads, 50% tails. So this whole thing about homochirality is exactly analogous to that problem. How do you get them to be all left-handed amino acids in a prebiotic soup? And by the way, even if you start out that way, it's not going to stay that way long, because kind of the thermal motion will kind of randomly flip it, just like you would be, even if I started out with 100% heads, let's say we had some kid just grab the coin and flip it, it's going to eventually tend toward 50% heads, 50% tails. That's what they call the process of racemization. And there are other things, like, again, in the stairway of life. So you got all these abiogenesis researchers trying to argue that life is probable, and everything that they do shows it's not. So this is what they're doing is analogous to saying, hey, can we find a way to get all the coins to flip heads? And let's not interfere. And to get any result toward getting it all heads, they have to cheat. And this is called the hand of God dilemma. They have to cheat on so many levels. Like when they're trying to get homo-linked, homochiral nucleotides of even 100 bases, they have to use specialized machines and recipes. And finally, a scientist who's actually not a creationist, he said, you guys got to stop doing that, because it's false advertising that this is anything near realistic. And he said, this is the hand of God dilemma, because you guys have to keep acting like God to intervene. You're creating boundary conditions, because if you just take random boundary conditions that are just, random events, the laws of physics are going to randomize it, and you're not going to have life. And I'm like, guys, the writing's on the wall. You can either believe your own delusions. I didn't want to be that rude and tell him that. Or you could look at the actual facts. And that was what I was saying. The facts don't agree with you guys. Therefore, science is more friendly toward theism, because the facts do not point, in modern day 21st century, they do not point to a naturalistic origin of life. So if you had any comments, then I'll show this. I'll show the stuff from Nick Matsky.
Cool.
All right, why don't you read it, Rebecca? You have such a beautiful voice.
Okay, sure. I'm gonna have to make it bigger. Hold on. Okay. If you came across a table on which was set 500 coins, no tossing involved, and all 500 coins displayed the heads side of the coin, would you reject chance as a hypothesis to explain this particular configuration of coins on a table?
Okay, I'll tell you why this is particularly funny. I kept thinking that these guys were, they're never going to give an inch, even on an innocent question like that. Because I could see that no matter how much I pounded them on chemistry or whatever, they would just make stuff up. Just like tonight, when I talked about boundary conditions, they would just not give an inch, even when you're right. So I said, why don't I just throw an innocent question like this and see how someone who's a dogged materialist evolutionist, how he's going to respond. This is like a 6-year-old could answer this question intuitively. I just wanted to see how much in denial of reality they were. So that's why I did this. And I said, I had a prediction. I had a prediction he is going to go into denial. So let's see what he had to say. So I predicted he was going to go into denial. And let's see what he did. Okay, let's see if Nick responded. He might have been thrown out. Okay, so he had to quote Mark Frank. If you want to read that, Mark Frank said,
chance is meaninglessly vague as a hypothesis, as is design. I would reject the hypothesis that someone had independently tossed each coin and each coin was fair. There are many other plausible mechanisms which are far more likely to produce that configuration. Some of these involve intelligence. Someone placed them that way. Some of them do not. They might have slid out of a packet of coins without a chance to turn over.
Okay, they couldn't say a simple yes or no. And then what Nick Matsky does, he said, well, whatever Mark said. Okay, and then he said, another hypothesis is that all the coins have heads on both sides. He said, all the coins, they don't have any tails. They're these little prank kind of coins. Okay, so he threw that out. He couldn't answer the question of what the little 6-year-old would say. I'm like, Nick, this isn't that hard. Do you have to beat around the bush? And then I said, they might have slid out of the packet of coins without a chance to turn over, which still means chance is not the mechanism of the configuration. And so S Cordova is me. And I keep hammering. I said, Mark didn't answer with a simple yes or no. Is this the sort of answer you'd give your students if they posed the question to you? Okay, so Mark is a PhD statistician. He may have students. And I said, is that the sort of answer you're going to give? Are you going to just beat around the bush? The question was, would you reject chance as a hypothesis for explaining the configuration? Would you say random chance could cause all heads? That's basically what the question was. The two-headed coin is a rejection of the chance hypothesis. Sliding out of a coin wrapper in the original configuration is a rejection of the chance hypothesis. Having a robot mechanically order them is a rejection of the chance hypothesis. Having some space intelligence, space alien, configure them is a rejection of the chance hypothesis. You almost never hear such silly evasions in the discussion of simple statistics. You can't find it in yourself, Dr. Matsky, to say, yes, I would reject chance, as in some sort of random process as an explanation. You stress irrelevancies. Start talking about anything rather than say, yes. And I just kept hammering him. And then so, that's why it was refreshing.
And so
the little 6-year-old could understand it. He could understand it. And everyone was saying, Nick understood it. He just said he had a lot to lose by telling the truth. I'm just like, yeah. So
Is
And I'm
LPP
glad.
still here? I want to hear what LPP has to say about this. I think he's still here. Maybe he's just listening.
So, you and I deal with certain individuals, and we don't need to name names. And I would invite you to ask him that question, because I got to tell you, I actually asked a bunch of atheists that a very similar question, and they could not give a simple yes or no. It was hilarious. This debate went on for 6 months until another atheist guy weighed in and said, "You guys are just essentially stupid. I can't believe you're debating this with Sal. Just because you want to, you have a Sal obsession. You are so eager to disagree with anything he says. He can just quote from the textbook, and you're going to try to disagree with him. And he's got you. He's going to make you look like a fool." That's what happened tonight. I could just quote from textbooks, and I was rushing around, and I did this. I showed it on camera and said, "Guys, that was my way of telling them, guys, you got this so bad, and I'm not gonna try to rub it in anymore, but you guys just do not understand. And I'm quoting textbook understanding, and you don't get it. You're just too eager to disagree. And when you get that way, you're just gonna get killed."
Yep. Good job, Sal.
Yeah. So I don't know that we have anything much to say, that if there was anything. So let me just reiterate. So the question is science more compatible with theism or atheism? And they were kind of offended. Let me show this. And I didn't have a chance to read this stuff in the see if I can bring it up. Oh boy, I think my poor computer froze. Rebecca, do you have anything to say, or are you getting tired?
Well, JF kind of surprised me at the beginning. I am tired, by the way, so yeah. But JF kind of surprised me at the beginning when he said, like, we stopped this demonic practice, and he was like talking about abortion. I guess I don't usually hear atheists speaking strongly against abortion, but I mean there are some that do, but I mean it kind of took me by surprise. What did you think about that? Did that surprise you?
Yes, and it was a pleasant surprise. I said, "You have a conscience." And I actually liked him a lot from that point on. I really did. I said, "Oh my goodness, there's a spark of conscience in him that values life deeply." And he seemed like a swell guy, and I'm sorry we were on opposite sides. I tried to be as respectful as I could, but forceful. And if I got animated, I hope he realized it wasn't directed at him personally. I was just trying to be forceful in my argument. But what triggered it was, let me see if I could share my screen here. So I'll review my screen, and let's see, do I have a Chrome tab window? There it is. So let me just verify it shows on the screen. There it is. I said science is more compatible with theism than atheism. And T-Jump could have let me embarrass myself. I actually said God is more compatible with theism than atheism. He said, actually, that's true. And then I looked at it. I said, "Oh, I made a mistake." I said, "Thanks, T-Jump." So, I could tell he was looking out for me and not like letting me just make a mistake like that and look just totally stupid. And from that point on, I said, I'm not going to pounce on T-Jump. He was civil to me, and I'd be the same. But anyway, what triggered all that was then I said, well, I said, there are no answers in atheism. There are no answers in atheism, even though there's a website that claims that there are no answers in atheism. And I said, how is it that So let's say an atheist says he doesn't believe in God. So then how, if you don't believe in God, how do you decide that science is a good thing to do? Because there's certain people that would put an end to science. And I pointed to Patricia McCormack. She's an atheist occultist, and she's advocating for the extinction of all humanity so we could stop climate change and we could save all the environment and all the little creatures. So she's a conservationist. And Peter Singer is another atheist who feels the same. And that really got them triggered. And they said,
well, I have to say, Sal, that was a bit unfair. I mean, like, like we could put up some pretty bad examples of Christians, right? So, like, putting up like a couple random atheists that have some pretty extreme ideas and things like that, it just seems like kind of a low, like unnecessary blow, like couldn't they equally put up, a picture of a Christian you don't like and, or that has done terrible things?
Well, okay, just to get, okay, so there's kind of that emotional shock value, and it really wasn't my point. It was just so shocking to see that and also to hear what she said that I just kind of I was just messing with him a little bit, but I still had a valid point. I said, where in atheism does it say the human race should continue? Why is that a valuable goal? You can't say I don't believe in God, therefore humanity should continue, or I don't believe in God, therefore humanity should go extinct. I said, if you can't answer simple questions like that, why can atheism give you an answer as to whether science should be pursued or not? And really, that was my point of saying, there are no answers in atheism. So the point people thought I was making wasn't really the point I was actually making.
Well, but see, even that, because they'll still say, well, we value ourselves. And so, like they would say, I value my own life. And so I think, other human life, I value, the people that I love. So they just say, from my own perspective, I value human life. So that's the answer.
That is definitely true. But you see, that's not derived from I don't believe in God, therefore I value my life. Because there are also lots of people that say, I don't believe in God, therefore I don't value my life at all. Let us eat and drink, for tomorrow we die.
Whereas okay, I see now. Yeah, so you're saying it doesn't. Okay, that. Now I see your point. You're not saying, okay, you're just saying like atheism is not offering anything. Like it's not, whether you value human life or not, it's not going to be atheism that makes you value human life.
Right. It's something in your heart. And I was pleased actually to see JF say, the demon of Roe versus Wade was exorcised. And he's saying thankfully all these millions of children, they're not going to be killed. I could have pressed him and said, okay, so you don't believe in God. What makes you say that that's a good thing? Is that just something you feel in your heart? Do you accept it as a faith statement, and do you value your intuition? And I'd say that's a good thing. But you can't say, I don't believe in God, therefore human life is valuable, because it's independent. It's like saying 2 + 2 = 4, therefore the sky is blue. See, it could be blue, or it could be red, or it could be black. It's independent of whether 2 + 2 = 4. And I'm just trying to, that's the kind of thing in logic. It's like, okay, I don't believe in God, therefore the sky is blue. It's we call a non sequitur. The two statements are not logically connected. But I think the shock value was so horrible. They focused on that. And I was just having a little bit of fun with them, honestly.
A little bit of fun. You're funny, Sal.
See, Patrick.
Oh my gosh! And speaking of that, wait a minute. Speaking of that, Was this a bad dream? Was I having deja vu, or did you say stupid whore like 3 times?
No, I said because she kept putting super chats on,
Oh my.
and she really seems to have a thing for me. Okay, and that's why I said because
Well,
because in other debates she'd put up, she probably spent $300 in super chats trying to badger me with questions, and I finally started saying, "Hey, stupid whore energy, just for the record, you're my favorite stupid whore."
Yeah, I heard that. And the first time you said it, it was pretty funny, except, people, but everyone was like, whoa, that doesn't sound right coming from Sal. Like, that doesn't sound like we were all bristling that you as a Christian were saying that. But I mean, it was kind of understandable the first time, but then, like, you kept calling her that. Several more times, and I was like, oh my gosh, this has to stop. Like, Sal is just, I mean, it was fine when you called her Mrs. Energy. That was fine. But, like, anyway, it was just.
Yeah, Miss Energy. So I mean, she had that handle. I just said, well, I'll call you stupid whore for short. Call you Miss Energy. I mean, so she was spending money to actually provoke that exchange, and sometimes she'll get on a roll. She'll donate like $100 over one debate or several debates. It's just really kind of funny because she likes hearing her name keep recited. So I kind of just kind of I kind of played around with that. So yes. And you're just cringing.
I was cringing. I mean, the first time it was kind of funny because you were like, Mrs. Energy, that's about as far as I can go with your name or something like that. And you were like, but you're my favorite stupid whore. And it was kind of funny. Okay. It was really funny. But it was still kind of like, okay, this isn't proper. But then, like, it happened several more times. And I was like, Sal, you got to stop. Anyway.
Okay, so now we got Jamie Russell. What a stupid whore you are.
Was Jamie Russell there? Were you there,
right,
Jamie? That's what
that's
basically what he did. Oh my gosh.
So now I'm going to be okay. That was my marketing strategy. Now I'm going to be viral now. My channel's going to go viral just because of that comment.
Jamie says he deleted that comment, but no, you didn't delete it because in StreamYard it holds them.
So. Yeah, I'm afraid it's recorded now. You got 2 guys saying that about you, stupid whore, that you're the best. Oh boy. So yeah, I was messing just a little bit. I'll tell you what, we needed a little bit of moments of levity. I didn't want to get, it got too serious. It was nice to see all the guys smile and just kind of just lighten up a little bit. This isn't Mortal Kombat. We're just jawing at each other. We can be friends. We weren't taking personal digs at each other, which is great. They usually take personal digs with me in the side chat, say he's lying, he's dishonest. They didn't do that. We didn't do that. And that was great. So going back to the slides, there she is. And Patrick Alexander calls her Freaky Deaky. And so let's see. So the next slide, a physicist said this because he was looking at the fine tuning of the universe, and I didn't, because I was short on time, I didn't read all this. I'll just read it. A common sense interpretation of the facts suggests that a super intellect has monkeyed with physics as well as chemistry and biology, and that there are no blind forces worth speaking about in nature. Ironically, Fred Hoyle was not a Christian. He
You're
was not a
breaking up,
theist.
Sal. I mean, you're frozen for.
Am I? Are we good now? I'm still here. Let me look. Let me check. I have a connection, and let me just test. Let me test my connection. All right, I think it's Rebecca that I lost. Oh, Rebecca.
I'm here. It was your
Okay,
whole stream. You froze, and then the whole thing froze.
okay, we're back. We're back online.
Okay.
So I was just saying, so I gave that whole thing that you can't say I don't believe in God, therefore let's do science. It's a non sequitur. But I said when we do science, we find out it points to a creator. So that's the first thing I was trying to point out, and I think I lost my screen. Let's see. Okay, I got it back. So the first thing is science does point, our observations suggest the super intellect. And then I quoted from my quantum mechanics book. It said, we thus see how quantum theory requires the existence of God. Of course, it does not ascribe to God defined in this way any of the specific additional qualities that the various existing religious doctrines ascribe to God. Acceptance of such doctrines is a matter of faith and belief. If elementary systems do not possess quantitatively determinate properties, apparently God determines these properties as we measure them. We also observe the fact, unexplainable but experimentally well established, that God, in his decisions about the outcomes of our experiments, shows habits so regular that we can express them in the forms of statistical laws of nature. This apparent determinism in macroscopic nature has hidden God and his personal influence on the universe from the eyes of many outstanding scientists. We could do an entire show on this, but I just was pointing out science is pointing to God, even one of our most fundamental theories, and that's quantum mechanics. And then I pointed out Richard Smalley said evolution has just been dealt its death blow. And I'm sorry that it's a little obnoxious here. I'm getting this thing I don't want to see. Just bear with me, I'll read it. Evolution has just been dealt its death blow. After reading Origins of Life with my background in chemistry and physics, it's clear evolution could not have occurred. And then I talked about, and this relates more to perspective philosophy, Eugene Wigner, Nobel Prize winner in physics. That should be physics, not chemistry. Physics. The miracle of the appropriateness, he uses the word miracle. The miracle of the appropriateness of the language of mathematics for the formulation of the laws of physics is a wonderful gift which we neither understand nor deserve. We should be grateful for it and hope that it will remain valid in future research and that it will extend, for better or for worse, to our pleasure, even though perhaps also to our bafflement, to wide branches of learning. It is difficult to avoid the impression that a miracle confronts us here, quite comparable in its striking nature to the miracle that the human mind can string 1,000 arguments together without getting itself into contradictions, or to the two miracles of the laws of nature and the human mind's capacity to divine them. And I didn't have a chance to read that. And I pointed, if anyone's interested in studying this more, there's this book by Paul Davies, The Mind of God. If you want a headache, that'd be a great book to read. It is difficult. And then I said, okay, so science is pointing to God, and yet we have stuff like evolutionary biology and abiogenesis. We're trying to practice and show that it can happen naturally. And I said, you end up corrupting science because you make stuff that is, I didn't have a chance to complete my thought because I ran out of time, partly because of perspective philosophy overran his. But my point was, now you have this field of abiogenesis. They're just making stuff up, and it's delusional at best, and it's fraudulent at worst. Delusional at best, and that includes Demeter, poor Demeter, delusional at best. I thought you were going to smile when I said Demeter, Rebecca.
Oh, sorry. I was reading the chat, but I'm here with you now. Yeah, I saw Demeter was in my chat this morning, actually. So
Yeah.
on examining evolution.
Oh, good. Because what's happening is science is being corrupted by falsehoods now to support naturalistic abiogenesis. So it's delusional at best, fraudulent at worst. So there's a whole spectrum. So delusional means the guys really believe it. Fraudulent means you know it's a lie and you're going to tell it anyway. And I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, but just like, guys, you're delusional. You're delusional, and you can't prove it experimentally. And the only way you can kind of make experiments that try to prove your point is you have to cheat. And that's the hand of God dilemma. You have to have the investigators do a lot of the work that doesn't exist in reality in a prebiotic environment and cheat. It's like the hand of God. And so an experimenter said, you can't do that. But of course, when you don't do that, then you don't get any quote unquote progress in abiogenesis. So all the progress in abiogenesis is attributable to the intelligent intervention of the experimenters. It's not really natural, is it?
Yeah, and even so, we're still not getting anywhere with it.
Exactly.
So
it's too complicated.
even with their intelligence, they can't get anywhere. So that gives us a little bit of a clue into the mind of God, how great and amazing he is.
Right. And I said, you could take the best scientists in the world. I said, you can't build these. I started listing off homohexameric helicase, topoisomerase, transmembrane proteins. I mean, if they really wanted to debate, this is what I was saying about the problem of Brandolini's law. You could just say whatever you want in 2 minutes. I'm going to need 10 hours to refute you. And I've done that on the channel. That was kind of my shameless promotion of the stuff on this channel. And I hope, there are only 400 that viewed us live, but this could probably be like 10,000 people that view it on recording. And I hope they'll come to this channel and see this after show, etc. And Shrusa asked, can you explain what you meant by violating the law of large numbers? Sure. In a little bit, actually call it, you're going to make Sal bust out the binomial distribution, bro. Okay. So let me just, if I forget, Rebecca, let me go back to Shrusa's question a little later, because I wanted to complete this thought about abiogenesis. I said, you see this whole thing about naturalism, it's got to be a natural explanation, got to be. That they're going to have guys like Demeter, God bless him, no hostility toward you, even though you say horrible, nasty lies about me. I get it, because you see that I'm a threat to you, and it bothers you that Rebecca would listen to me before she listens to you. Thank you for listening to me, Rebecca. That makes my day. But you see, this is not good, that now you're teaching bad science to students. They're going to go to graduate school and know you've been handing them the raw deal. And James Stewart's concerned. He said, you can't keep doing this, guys, because people are going to see through it and going to decide the enterprise is fraudulent. We can't trust it because they don't tell the truth. So look at the hand. I did a show on the God dilemma, and you could see the scientists saying, this is not right. You can't keep doing this. This is illegitimate, illegitimate, illegitimate. Those weren't his verbatim words, but you can read the essay. You could read my take on it, and you can read the essay. So you corrupted abiogenesis. You're corrupting the field of abiogenesis. Therefore, you're corrupting science because of your insistence on naturalism. I could go to the same thing about evolutionary theory on so many levels. You're so much insisting natural selection can do this. JF said, no, you got it wrong. And I just wanted to say, I could have been mean and said, I'm sorry, sir, you don't even understand your own literature of the population genetics. You don't understand the problems with natural selection. And he had to concede. It was interesting. They made two concessions. They said, it is amazing, at least two, how mathematics works with physics, because you need a special universe where science can actually work. And I think, a lot of people are kind of like, you mean science won't work unless we live in a miraculous universe? It's like, yeah, because most universes that we can imagine, science will not work. You would not even have life. You wouldn't even have atoms to do. You wouldn't even have atoms in most hypothetical universes. We live in a very special universe. And we use terms like algorithmic compression. They said, yeah, cell has a point. It's like, darn right, I have a point. And then the second thing he said, yeah, it's possible for natural selection to decrease intelligence. I was just like, well, yeah, it's possible and it's been proven, not just losing intelligence, but how about losing capability, like stronger bones and muscles? How about losing health? Because we have more birth defects with each generation. And you could do this with all sorts of species. I wanted to say, you want to have a talk about what natural selection can really do? We have experimental evidence. And he challenged me when I said fitness gains despite genomic decay. And he was saying that's wrong. So I said, sir, excuse me, sir, that was an experimental result. That wasn't made up. I'm giving you the citation. And I was typing stuff in the side chat in case people wanted to contest me because they were saying I was lying. I was giving them the papers. I was giving them the citations. I was giving them the Google search terms. It's like, come on, we can have this out.
You know what? That reminds me of something that came up in this. You brought up this thing about we're the women who are intelligent are not having as many children, and so we're natural selection is selecting us to be dumber, basically.
Dumber and dumber.
This again, you had someone saying, okay, yeah, dumber, we're getting dumber and dumber, basically. He didn't say it in the same, right?
Yeah,
that's a T-Jump responded to that. I think it was T-Jump that responded to that and said, yeah, well, yeah, natural selection does seem to be making us dumber.
See?
Right?
Yeah. I'll take your word for it.
Am I misremembering that?
I think that was accurate, and it's kind of a moot point because we are. And I got someone else on video saying that, and out of respect to you, I won't play it tonight. But so can we get did you have anything else to say? Maybe I could address Shusa's question here.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, and I probably need to get to bed pretty soon. So yeah, we could do.
All right. That. Can you explain what you mean by violating the law of large numbers? Okay. There's some, if you Google law of large numbers on Wikipedia, you'll see a variety of statements of it. Some of them are just incomprehensibly difficult. And then there's kind of the more common sense, easy to say. So maybe rather than define it, first I'll give you an example. If you had 1 million fair coins and you flip them randomly, you would expect on average that they would be approximately 50% heads, 50% tails. You would not. So the law of large numbers says the average value, when you have many, like an infinite number of trials, the average value will start to approximate the expected value. So the expected value here is that 50% are heads. So if you have a large number of coins and you flip them and they're fair coins, let's say it's a bazillion coins rather than 1 million. I mean, one really large number of coins. And you take a single coin and flip it a bazillion times and you record the number of heads and tails. The expected value is it's going to be 50% heads. So the more coins you flip, the closer it's going to be, it's going to approach 50%. So like if you have just, like say just 2 coins and you flip it, you might get all heads, right? You might. There's a 1 in 4 chance you will. But if you have a bazillion, you're not going to get all heads. It's going to be more like 50% heads, 50% tails. It's going to approach, the expected value is 50%. So now how you calculate the expected value is kind of a monstrous mathematical thing, but intuitively it should be 50%. And if you could start from that. So let me know if that kind of explained it for you. If you had some questions, Rebecca.
No, I've heard you explain this before.
Oh, okay. You could get more technical and use the binomial distribution. I don't want. There's no need to get there. Hopefully that's adequate. So how does this relate to abiogenesis? For a protein to function, it almost always has to be 90. It almost always has to be 100% left, which corresponds to all heads. Naturally, it's going to be left or right. And if you leave it out there in a prebiotic soup, if it still stays an amino acid, which is questionable, it could denature to something else. Even if it started out all left, it's going to be a mix of left and right, just like a mix of heads and tails over time, because it's like the molecules hitting each other because of the vibrations, because of the heat, the temperature. It'll start to flip it like coins, and we can do that with nucleotides and their homo their homo linkage, their consistent linkage. There are all sorts of ways that this could be expressed. And that's why evolutionary biologist Nick Matsky knew I was setting a trap for him. He knew exactly where that was going. So I think we're starting to wrap it up. Oh, the single-celled dog. The Single-Celled Dog by Soutard at the SciShow. You know what? I've got the best, one of the best examples of de-evolution. A dog made a single-celled creature. A dog made a single-celled creature. It devolved from a multi-celled creature to a single-celled creature. And let me tell you the name of it, and then maybe we'll wrap it up. While I'm looking for this, Rebecca, if you had any thoughts.
Oh, I'm really curious what you mean about a dog devolving. That's okay.
Okay, let me do a search. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I guess I don't really have any other thoughts.
Okay, the point of this is it's very difficult to evolve complexity. Like going from a single-celled organism to a multicellular animal is really hard. But you can go the other way. That means you can lose complexity. Selection can select for loss of complexity. And I said, let me just see if we can get a multi-celled creature to go to a single-celled. And this is what I found. Oh boy.
Well, before you start that, Shusa wanted to say, he said, wait, you didn't answer the question. How does a low probability event violate the law of large numbers?
By definition, a violation of the law of large numbers is a low probability event. By definition, that's how you determine what a low probability event is. It's a violation of the law of large. One way to determine a low probability event, one way, it's not the only way, is if you have a situation first that you can apply the law of large numbers. And if the law of large numbers is violated, then you have a low probability event. I'm sorry, sir. If you don't think I'm explaining it well, please take a statistics book, look at the law of large numbers, and formulate it in words that you can explain. A violation of the law of large numbers is a low probability event by definition. It's at the tails of the distribution. If you do the binomial distribution, you'll see the tails at the extreme ends, and those are low probability events. So that's all I could say. Let me see if I could find this about the poor dog.
And I'll just read a couple of chat comments while you're doing that. Pseudonym says,
Sure.
isn't the point that science is supposed to explain the natural world? And no matter how you describe biology, it's not supernatural like God.
Even creationists believe biology in the present operates by and large, and we will assume for the sake of argument, by natural means. But the origin of that, you can't I've given you the evidence that it couldn't be natural in the sense where natural is things like ordinary events, laws of physics, with random boundary conditions. Sir, this is getting really annoying here. So I don't know what to tell you. I mean, 500 coins, all heads, is a violation of the law of large numbers if you're dealing with fair coins. So let's see.
So did you find the dog?
Yes, I found the dog, and then we
Okay.
can close this up. So let me show it. So this is a single-celled organism evolving from a multi-celled organism. And let me find it, and then we'll close it up. Let's see. First, I'll stop. There it is. And I'll read it because it is teeny tiny. This is from, and you can see it's in Reddit. And I'll drop the link in the side chat just for courtesy, because I see that poor Rebecca's yawning and I need to finish this up. I thank you for your perseverance, Rebecca. Here is an example of a single-celled organism evolving from a dog. And a dog is a multi-celled creature. Okay, so let me find it. And I'm going to I'll trace it again to another link. Single-celled organism that evolved from a dog. And let me put that in the link here. Although the genome of a CTVT is derived from a canid, probably a dog, wolf, or coyote, it is essentially living as a unicellular, asexually reproducing, but sexually transmitted pathogen. The CTVT first emerged in a dog that lived about 11,000 years ago. All CTVT tumors carry the DNA belonging to this founder dog. By counting and analyzing the mutations acquired by the CTVT tumors around the world, we can piece together how and when CTVT emerged and spread. CTVT is thus the oldest cancer known in nature. So what this means, and it's really, I'm sorry, it's really kind of gross, is that a dog had a cancer cell, and it ended up being transmitted to other dogs. So his cancer cell got rubbed off on another dog, and that cancer cell kept multiplying on the poor other host dogs. It became a parasite cancer. So what was my point in throwing this gross example? It's easy to lose complexity. It's very difficult to go the other way. And you see, this is an example of natural selection working. It destroyed something and kept it alive, and it's multiplying, it's spreading epidemically. This is an extreme example, but I thought that was really,
interesting.
Because, he said things, natural selection will select to build. Oh, now I know why I pointed this out. I said, you see, this cancerous cell from the dog has practically all the DNA. It's a little bit damaged. Why doesn't it evolve back into a dog? I mean, you're saying natural selection should build all these organs. Why doesn't it evolve back into a full dog?
It just hasn't had enough time, Sal.
Didn't have enough time. I said, okay, so
it's only been 11,000 years, given 500 million.
Right. So here you have this cancer cell that is more like a dog than a bacteria. It is so close to a dog than any bacteria on the planet. And you're saying natural selection can just keep evolving something because the selection pressure is going to make a dog. You're so close to being a dog. There it is in this tumor. Do you really think it's ever going to be a dog one day? And if something this close to being a dog doesn't become a dog, why do you think evolution works? That now I recall that was my point with that example. And I could have kept hammering JF all night long. And if this went 10 hours, it would have been a bloodbath. It would have been, I would have felt pretty sorry for him like I did for Nick Matsky. This is why I don't like short format debates. It's just to advertise the long format where I get to hammer at them in the after shows and on the channel, and also on your channel, Examining Evolution. And I should, I need to, would you like to, you have moderator privileges. Would you like to trumpet your channel a little bit? You're Examining Evolution. Oh, you're muted, Rebecca.
Sorry. Yes. So for those who are interested, I have a channel called Examining Evolution. I will put the link in the chat. I haven't been doing that much on it, but recently I started it a year ago, and but now it's kind of picking up a little bit. And Dr. Dan is going to come on the channel on Monday. And I recently had SFT on. Sal's been on there quite a bit. So here's the link. And yeah, so I have people on on both perspectives, those who believe in evolution, those who don't. And so Dr. Dan is going to come and kind of respond to the ERV stuff that SFT was saying last week. I don't know if you had a chance to watch that, Sal.
No, not at all, because I've criticized ERVs. If you want kind of a professional opinion from me, I can, because I actually had to do this for Dr. Sanford. So, thank you for the kind guys. Thank you for such the kind words, saying I did a good job. Oh my, critique was so cringe. Rebecca, if you have a minute, after I can meet you in the backstage. I'm just going to finish the show with Rachmaninoff, then I can meet you backstage and just for a few minutes just to say goodbye.
Okay.
God bless you all.
God bless you. Thanks for watching.